My name is Farrell. Thank you for listening to me today. Okay. Children are our future and should be treated as such. Standardized tests are used to evaluate teachers and students for many reasons. But are these tests really doing their job? The No Child Left Behind Act focuses on children that are not doing so well. The current evaluation system in Iowa is out of date and compares children between each other and across the states. It focuses on a one-size-fits-all standard of learning. Children need a place where they feel safe and are nurtured to learn and grow, and a place that is not focusing on them taking tests to compare one another. And it needs a place where they can feel safe and is not focusing on bending their fragile self-esteem. What is the No Child Left Behind Act? It is an act that was brought into place in 2002 by George W. Bush. And what it is listed up here. This is actually taken out of the act itself. And it says that it is to ensure that all children have a fair and equal and significant opportunity to obtain a high, equal education to reach at a minimum proficiency on challenging state academic achievement standards and from a state academic assessments. So they use these assessments to evaluate children. The priority of this then becomes the lowest performing schools and the lowest performing students. But is this really doing the best for our children? And then what this really means then is that these lowest performing schools then get the most federal funding. And this funding then becomes very important because the funding is what then these schools rely on for textbooks and for updating their technology, which is really what these children are using nowadays. They're not using books and whatnot, they're using their technology. So these standardized tests have become a mainstay in the schools. Another thing that the No Child Left Behind Act did was that every state then got their own standardized testing system. They all used to use actually the Iowa Test of Basic Skills. And with the No Child Left Behind Act, every state then found their own standardized tests. These tests then became a report card to the government. The government then uses these tests to make decisions about the teachers and the students and the futures of not only the teachers but the students. How is that fair to the teachers and the students? So we have students who are in 3rd grade, 8 years old, taking tests which are making decisions about the nation as a whole. In Iowa, we still use the Iowa Test of Basic Skills. The Iowa Test of Basic Skills, all it does is compare students to one another. It doesn't relate to what students are actually learning in the classroom, or what teachers are actually teaching, or how they're teaching the students. The Iowa Test of Basic Skills were created in the 1930s according to an article that I read on NBC News. Like I said before, it used to be used across the nation, but it has been slowly phased out due to the inability to relate accurate information. Not only are kids taking the Iowa Test of Basic Skills, but like my own children, they're taking many different assessments throughout the year. They're giving placement tests in reading and math. So I got a little curious and I talked to some parents. One parent, Colette Stephan, told me that she feels that the No Child Left Behind means that children are not really left behind, which is kind of redundant, but that children should be taught what they really need to learn and not what some test dictates. And then another parent told me that the Iowa Test of Basic Skills aren't fair to use against schools. Some kids don't take these tests serious and just mark the test to get it over with. I think that they should grade students on their grades and not a test that make kids take in 1 week, which seems fair. I mean, I know when I took the Iowa Test of Basic Skills many years ago, I didn't care what happened. have a little bit of background, I got a little curious as to what the administration thought. So I talked to Jim Murray, and he is a principal at Tilford Elementary in Benton. And he said that these placement tests and the Iowa Test of Basic Skills show where children need to be and how children are advancing in school. And this is the only way that we can get this information. And I thought, well, what about their daily work? What about letting children learn and letting them advance without undue pressure? Isn't that a good way to get to their work? So I continued to talk to him a little bit more, and he said that it is hard to help advanced kids, and that they only have to deal with kids that need help for being behind. Well, that just didn't make sense. I'm just convinced that children are not getting the help that they need, and that advanced placement tests are really not doing their job. The NBC News article that I read said that the Department of Education in Iowa is working to develop new tests that should give teachers a better understanding of what children are learning, but it still in the end is comparing child to child and state to state. So the No Child Left Behind Act may be the law, and standardized tests may be the norm, but I still don't feel that it is right. Why are we using the Iowa Test of Basic Skills to compare children when we get no real information from these tests? And why are we forcing children to compare themselves to one another? And the rest of the placement tests that children are taking are not any better way to get information when we're focusing on children that are still behind and we're not helping children as a whole. Why don't we let teachers teach to the best of their ability and let children learn to the best of their ability? And let the teachers teach to inspire children to learn and to love learning instead of teaching children to remember facts for a test. Let's be a voice for our children and step up for them and treat them like they're our future, because the children are our future. Thank you.